Hello, Profit First, thought leaders and entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Profit Talk. I am so excited today because today I have Dee Gredler from Dee Gredler and Associates with us, and she is going to talk about neuroscience and mindset. She is a neuroscience coach, and she is helping entrepreneurs rewire their mind to achieve profitability and make their business go where it has never gone before. Welcome, Dee. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
That is wonderful. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into this? How did you discover neuroscience and really think about how it applies to entrepreneurship?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for years now, and I've tried one business after the other, but I always had this kind of doubt in the back of my mind that I just wasn't going to be successful. And so of course, I wasn't successful, and I tried different tactics and I tried different niches and, all of that. And then I'm a big believer in coaches, and I came under one coach who really stressed the importance of mindset. And I knew mindset was important, but I really didn't go much beyond that. So he had some practical steps of things to do, and it really began to make me start to look into what mindset really is. If I can just kind of give an example of what mindset is in a picture form.
Please do. We're excited to hear about it.
Okay. This is from a book called The New Psycho-Cybernetics by Dan Kennedy. And he says, picture a box, a square, and that box has, straight lines. And those are your constraints. You really cannot do anything out of that. For instance, when I was growing up, and especially now, with my body type, I could never be a gymnast. I just wasn't that small, petite, little girl that gymnasts are when they're really good. So those are your hard constraints. But inside, there's this little shape that has dotted lines, and those lines are flexible. You can push them out. But we kind of tend to think that where we are within that little shape, that's just us, and that we can't change that. But we can push those out. We can take those old doubts out and put new beliefs, self-beliefs about ourselves and our relationship with the world around us, and grow into not who we fake it and make it, but who we truly are already, to become that more and more that person of who we are. So that's what entrepreneurs need. We need to access more of that capability and that courage that we've already got in order to be our best entrepreneurial selves.
I love that, Dee. That is so unique. So tell me, how do entrepreneurs even get into this box? How do they become limited in their beliefs? What starts that from happening?
Well, the way that happens is something will happen, and usually in your childhood, you don't sit there one day and think, I believe I'm going to just think that I'm not able to succeed. Nobody does that. So what usually happens is something in your childhood that makes you have a thought, and with every thought there comes an emotion. And so if you repeat that thought and that emotion over and over enough times, that becomes a belief. And that belief forms your actions. And when you repeat those actions enough, that's a habit. So that's how your mindset is established in that way. It was something that it might have served you when you were a child. It might have protected you or helped you or whatever, but it's not serving you now, and it needs to be changed.
Wow, that is amazing. So really how we believe that we are, what we think that we are, is really impacting our results.
It definitely is.
That is amazing. So in terms of how do we start to really break out of that then? How do we get out of if I grew up, let's say, an accountant, right? I'm a numbers person, right? And I can 10 key like people they're running a marathon, I can 10 key. But the thought of being creative, then think about being creative. So how does an accountant who has put themselves in a box convince themselves to become creative?
Okay, so what you do is you first have to recognize what that I am statement is, or that I am not. I am not creative, you know, and that's what you tell yourself. I'm not creative. I'm good at numbers. I'm just not creative. And you need to refute that. You need to do it in two ways. You need to do it logically by evidence. You know, have you ever created anything before? You know, I'm sure you have, whether it's a lead magnet or whether, you know, whatever it is, you have created some stuff before. Are you smart enough to be creative? Well, yeah, you're smart enough. And, you know, and you list all those reasons why you are creative and you do have that possibility. Then you take that and you think about, would you say to your best friend or to one of your children, you're just not creative? You know, you're not going to limit them like that. So think about that. What would you tell your best friend or your child or your husband, somebody you really, really love? What would you tell them to refute the fact that they're not creative? Then switch that into, instead of, you know, you create things all the time, put it in first person. I create things all the time. Even if it's CPA spreadsheets, I create things all the time. And go through those lists and make sure you do that whenever you have those doubts about what you can and can't do, those I am and those I am not statements.
Wow, that is neat. So you're looking for evidence where you can be successful because you've been successful in the past, and really
Yes.
refocusing on those points of success where you're doing something that you have not really thought about or really thought that you could succeed in before is what you're doing there.
Mm-hmm.
That is
And
really neat.
if you think about what's going on is that you've got that neural pathway, I am not creative. But what you're wanting to do is replace it with one that says I am creative, and at the same time kill off that one that says I am not creative. And so that's what the process is to refute that highway you've already got and begin to kill that off and begin to build that new I am creative highway.
That is amazing. So there's almost like there's a science behind this, really, then that's what I'm hearing. There are now neuroscience. Are you actually creating new neurons, or like how is that all happening?
You are. When they look at brain scans, they can actually see those old neural pathways deteriorating and those new pathways beginning to build up. And you know, they talk about how it takes 21 days to do a new habit, but what really happens at 21 days is you've got your old neural pathway at a certain level, but you got your new one at the same level. So you can go either way. So you need to continue to build that new pathway and continue to let that old one die.
Wow. So that neuron actually dies, that old habit then. They
It
always
does.
say old habits die hard, but it's great to see that you can actually change them by rewiring and revamping them. That is amazing. And so when you're thinking about entrepreneurs, because a lot of our viewers and listeners here, they're entrepreneurs. So a lot of them are Gen 1 entrepreneurs, meaning that they don't come from a legacy of wealth or a legacy of where a company was handed to them. They are figuring out themselves, right? And so a lot of times they're breaking barriers that they have dealt with for lineages, literally there are generations of barriers, right? Depending on how far it goes back, if they're, first generation here or different family events that may have happened. So with entrepreneurs then that are really wanting to be successful and cross barriers, how can neuroscience help them do this?
Because it does take out those old beliefs. No matter, you know, how many generations back they are, you've just got that one neural pathway. So it's not like you have to take one out for each generation. It's just what you've heard, the stories that you've heard, the thoughts that you've had. Like, for instance, I heard the story of this woman who, when she was growing up, she kept hearing her father say stuff like, anybody that makes over $100,000 a year makes it off the back of the little people. Well, that put a barrier on her subconsciously. She didn't think about this, but the barrier was, well, if I make it over 100,000, then I'm a bad person because, I'm making it off the back of the little people. And so you set up those barriers for yourself to protect yourself because you don't want to be a bad person. And of course, you don't think this consciously, which is the problem. It's all subconscious because 80 to 90% of every decision you make all day long is in your subconscious and not in your conscious.
That is amazing. Wow. So because this entrepreneur's father told her that you're taking advantage of people by being successful, then that success was followed by guilt, right? So she had like almost like a
Mm-hmm.
survivor complex of, feeling guilty for being successful, for surviving, for elevating herself because the guilt that her father probably didn't even intentionally mean to pass on her. That is
Right.
amazing, definitely. And and so as an entrepreneur, if you are limited by these feelings of guilt and things like that, I can definitely see where that would hold you back. And why is this so important then, in order to cross barriers to move into a different level in your business? Why is this so important to, I'm going to take it back to profitability. This show is all about profitability. Why is
Mm-hmm.
investing in neuroscience and mindset coach? How does that help me in profitability?
Because it does take down those barriers, whether they're money set barriers or they're I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, why would anyone listen to me, that imposter syndrome. No matter what they are, if you can't move past that, then you're just stuck in that little space of capability that you have. And the thing is, you can push those walls out, but then when you reach a next level of success, you're going to find there are more doubts that you got. And so that wall needs to be pushed out again. And, you're aiming for those outer walls where your definite constraints are. I doubt that any of us ever reach that, but that's the goal, is to push us as far out towards the box square as we can get.
Dee, I had heard the saying, and you probably have too, new level, new devil, right? Every level
Exactly.
has a new challenge with it. And I can see mindset being a huge one for every single one. I read in a statistic someplace that only 15% of businesses that get started ever reach $1 million. 15%. That's it. 15%. And we hear about these $1 million companies and things like that, but you don't think that those are really the minority, that very few reach that. Do you think that part of that is because of mindset?
I really do. I think, they give reasons like lack of cash flow or, a lot of other reasons why these businesses fail. But I have to think that underneath there's what is your self-belief about yourself? Do you really think you can succeed? And if you don't, it's going to show in some form or another. There are just more common ways for it to show than other ways. And I think that's where we get the list of run out of cash or fights with a partner, or the different things that they blame business failure on. I think it all boils down to, well, let's not 100%, but 99.5% boils down to your lack of belief in yourself and your relationship with the world.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of excuses. The government, the man keeping me down, the government keeping me down. Now the government's giving money, right? So how's the government
Right.
keeping you down?
Right.
Amazing. Maybe coronavirus is keeping you down, but definitely, I've heard every single excuse. So if we tackle our mindset and we open up new possibilities, and really we were able to experience things that are at a whole new level for us, really, is being able to open up and experience that. Now, Dee, what tips do you have for our viewers and listeners? What can we do today to start broadening our mindsets in order to take our businesses to the next level?
Well, when it comes to our eyes, there's that saying that seeing is believing. But when it comes to our brain, that's flipped. With our brain, believing means we're going to see it. And so one thing that entrepreneurs can do is you can take, what is your big dream or vision right now? And write down what that looks like as if it happened, it was true right now. And you're telling your best friend about it. Write it in so much detail. Talk about where you are with your best friend and what's going on, and, you know, bring all your senses into it, and talk about, oh, and I'm making $500,000 a year, and this is my team, and this is what they do for me, and this is how I serve people, and these are some of the things that have happened and the big transformations that people have seen because of the way that, you know, just go into great detail about this. And then after you write that out, because you want to write it out and you want to do it by hand, not on a computer, because it uses a different part of your brain that needs to get involved in it. So you write that out, and then you record that. You record yourself saying that, and put emotion in it, because remember, a belief starts when a thought marries an emotion. So you want to put emotion into your voice when you're reading this, and listen to that morning and evening, and that vision pulls you toward it, pulls your brain towards, you know, seeing that and believing that, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay, let's go. We can do that. So I would suggest that.
I love that. You know, there's this scripture that talks about the people perish because of a lack of vision. And I love what you're saying, because really, in order to begin to approach it, in order for your body to start to move and give you the results that you want, it has to have the behaviors, and the behaviors are so much influenced by, really, like you said, what's happening in the emotions, what's coming from the subconscious mind to really drive those things. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
know, like, as a person, right? Not even as an entrepreneur, as a person, right? There are times that even when I have the biggest, like, things that I want, right? The things that I can taste it, see it, there's always these trolls, right? There are these trolls that creep in and go, you know what? That's bigger than you. That's bigger than you. You know, you never seen anybody do that before. You know, you should be doing something else. It's just not working. I told you it wasn't going to work. How do you fight the trolls?
And that's what you have to do. Those trolls are those self-doubts. And so you have to get rid of them. You have to kill them off. But you can't just kill them off. And you can't just say affirmations and hope to build a new pathway. You've got to get rid of that old one while you're building the new one. But when you do that, you do it, you know, one by one, and they go. And of course, new trolls are going to pop up, but you take care. There's a process for taking care of them. You don't have to be afraid of them anymore.
So there's going to be a whole lot of backyard burials of trolls.
That's right.
You guys heard that? Kill the trolls. Kill the trolls. They're part of life. They're normal. You got a neuroscience coach here telling you that trolls are normal. Just do not let them run the show, right? The show
That's
must go
right.
on.
And let it go full force.
May the trolls perish. And now, I know this is a little bit off subject, and this can be neuroscience. This can be something from your own personal experience, because I know that you are a serial entrepreneur. You've had many businesses, Dee, in your lifetime. What is the biggest piece of advice that you want to leave our entrepreneurs with today?
You know, I would say get a coach, whether it's a business coach, a mindset coach, um, a career coach, a life coach, a health and wellness coach. Get a coach, because a coach can see so much further beyond what you can see, and can believe in you more than you are able to believe in yourself maybe right now. And so that is my advice, is that coaches are so important. One person can't conquer the world. You need help. And that's my biggest advice.
Definitely. You know, I always tell our viewers out here, you know, if you want to grow $100,000 business, you probably can do that alone. But if you want to grow a 7-figure business, it's the power of the team. And some of those members of your team are not necessarily going to be employees. They're going to be people that have vision for you, that can show you the way, that can get you thinking in a different direction. And that's where coaches can be helpful.
They can, yes.
Now, Dee, if our listeners want to contact you and they want to learn more about neuroscience coaching, and they want to work with you, or just find out more about what you're doing today, how can our viewers contact you today?
They can join my Facebook group, Reset Your Mindset, on Facebook. And I think you were going to put the link to that in the show notes. And I forgot to give you this, but they could also email me at dee.gredler@gmail.com. So either way.
Thank you, Dee. This was extremely helpful for our viewers. And I appreciate you coming onto our show, spending the time with me today. And I will, for you entrepreneurs out there, I will go ahead and put the link to Dee's Facebook group so that you can go ahead and join that to learn more about neuroscience and neuroscience coaching. Until next time, may the profits be with you.